Ja, und jetzt geht's, Robin würde sagen, mit der anderen Seite weiter. Er hat ja eben schon damit angefangen. Wir möchten jetzt einen Vortrag hören von Mike Bettiana von der italienischen Firma Cloanto. Und er ist der nächste Redner auf dieser Bühne. Und er ist bekannt durch Projekte wie Amiga und C64 Forever, den offiziellen Emulatoren für diese Systeme. Und wir sind gespannt, was es Neues gibt.
Ja. Achso, muss ich jetzt Englisch machen?
Ja, ich kann es auch machen, ist egal.
Nein, das kann ich auch machen.
Okay.
This is Mike,
Okay.
I suppose. From the Italian company Cloanto, is it true?
More or less.
More or less. Okay, so that's
No.
okay. And for the next speaker on this stage, the stage is there. Known in the scene for projects like Amiga and C64 Forever, the official emulators for the system. We are curious to see and hear what's up next.
Okay. Ich habe heute eine andere Mütze an. Und zwar, yeah, hi. Let's see if the remote works. Yes, it works. Hi, good to be here. Although, thank you for the introduction. I'm wearing a different hat. As you may know, before Amiga Forever, for 10 years, we were Amiga developers, so since the 80s. And other things happened this year, so I will not be talking about Cloanto now. I actually scrapped this speech entirely. I was supposed to give a speech. I wanted to talk about Amiga and Beauty and Unity, which I will mention as topics. But since so many questions came up yesterday, I thought we only have 20 minutes. Maybe I can speak 10 minutes, and 10 minutes we see what the questions and answers are. So thanks for being patient until today, the second day, and the last speech today before the closing ones. We had some fun here already, as you can see. And so it's not only about beauty. Amiga is about drama, it's about religion, it's about vampires, about exorcists. Yesterday somebody told me, we need an Amiga exorcist. Why don't you do that? And I have to think, well, we did funny things in the last 30 years. That is 30 years ago, me and Jay Minor. And fast forward again, funny things with a vampire. Always, this was dressed as Amiga Syndrome. So, okay, Amiga Exorcist is fine. And I had a speech which, as I said, for time reasons, we're going to eliminate and move on to a short discussion of some topics that came up yesterday, and then the questions to you. I don't know if you saw the Amiga chat with Steve Jones, who is here, who kindly visited me. And there's also some additional items which I posted online. So the video is a bit lengthy, but it covers many of the difficult topics, which in 10 minutes maybe is harder to cover. I invite you if you want to visit that. So that's where I come from. Within 1 hour, I live 500 meters from a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I have very, very bad internet, but beautiful locations all around us. Trevor and Steve and others know. And yeah, that's actually one of the topics, blue sky. And the difficult topic, what if somebody says the sky is red or green? And the discussions start. And then you say, wow, for the sake of everyone, you should compromise. And maybe the sky is green. Amiga was about beauty and also about excellence, about the illusion of uncompromising perfection. And sadly, I grew up with that. And so maybe also because I'm not a lawyer, I'm a developer, sometimes also what Commodore did, fire, shoot, aim, so shoot first, aim later, I never liked that. I seem uncommitting at times, and I have to apologize for this. Somebody mentioned it to me yesterday, because I like to double and triple check things to make sure they are possible before doing them or saying they can be done. So for me, the sky is blue. First thing I wanted to cover is why it says Amiga here and not Cloanto as the introduction was. Sure, the speech last year was about preservation, but now let's talk about the future, what we would like to do. So one topic we already covered in the past is that indeed Cloanto, after being for 10 years a successful software developer, and we really went through very good times. We saw millions. We saw magazine circulations with Markton Technic, with English Amiga Future, and other magazines, in excess of 100,000 magazines a month. So the advertising budgets alone were in the millions. We were getting royalties quarterly that what is now is peanuts. In '97, when the pond was shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, we put our Amiga software on Aminet, decided to do other things for business, for growth, and indeed we went into some sort of preservation mode for Amiga Forever. But it doesn't mean that what you do for a while, after being an Amiga developer for so long, especially after you get an opportunity for change like this year, is forever. So Cloanto did acquire for Amiga Forever and C64 Forever first some licenses and then the copyrights over what Commodore Amiga had, 8-bit, CBM, and Amiga. Now there's the opportunity to move that on to another company. We will do that after some things are settled and sorted out. You heard there are challenges this year. Then there's Amiga Inc. There have been court cases in the last few years, actually more than 15 years, but let's focus on the last 2 years, which had some positive effects. One was that Amiga Inc. was brought back in good standing. It had overdue taxes. The other is that the shareholders of Amiga Inc. decided to sell after more than a year of negotiations. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the shareholders of Amiga Inc., Bill McEwen is just the CEO. The shareholders they read like a who's who of IT, cultures, and arts. There's very VIP people. The reason for that is that they were friends of Dr. Khoury, Finnish billionaire who moved to California and New York. And he passed away in 2009, but the legacy of these relationships lives in the ownership of Amiga Inc. So they had to go through multiple rounds of voting to start negotiations. They all had to approve. Finally, in January, they re-elected Bill McEwen as CEO just to give the signatures, because it was impossible to vote with all these VIPs every time. It was a bit slow. So there was an overwhelming majority vote to sell the remaining IP of Amiga Inc. to the new company which I represent. So that's why it said Amiga, not any longer Cloanto. I would like to separate Cloanto from Amiga things now. The company has an ugly name. It's a CA acquisition company. No? It's a provisional name. It's a name which should change once the matters are sorted out. There are some limitations in the acquisition about like changes of ownership. You know, there may be a fear that you buy just to sell it again. So some things cannot happen. But we carved out a provision, for example, to set up a non-profit or a foundation, which also was something I mentioned in previous speeches I would like to do. So now there's the possibility, once legal matters are sorted out, to merge the assets of Commodore Amiga that Cloanto had with everything else that Amiga Inc. had into a new healthy company that has more than ever before in the last 20 years. Now, this could be, again, I have to think about the historical duality of Amiga and Commodore, also about the practical things. Amiga was a Silicon Valley startup. They sold to Commodore. They celebrate a deathbed already in 1985 when Commodore bought. So the California team, some of them were not so happy. And then there was, of course, in 93, 94, other problems that came up. But for me, as a developer, I always saw Amiga as Commodore Amiga, because I grew up with the PET, with the VIC-20, and then with Amiga. I never saw the difference. But now with the Amiga 30 anniversaries, for example, we saw more of the original Amiga team. So it's something maybe we can also debate here, whether we would like to see a clean Amiga company or a more complex attempt to also bring back some Amiga, some Commodore friends. As you know, then the Commodore branch split on the trademark front when ESCOM sold something to Tulip to put the logo on PCs. So not everything is so easy right now. But we could do a very clean Amiga company again, I think. So I hope this answers some of the questions about what happened with Commodore Amiga with Amiga Inc., who was the CEO, who were the owners, was it easy to buy, to sell, and these things. And I see this as another positive development of this year. Of course, announcements and new company name are delayed, also pending the solution of the current court case, which could be, we are negotiating, right? We can say that, Timothy. Or otherwise, it's not an Italian court case which can last 10 or 20 years. It's an American court case which can last 1 or 2 years. So either way, at the end, there will be clarity. Clarity is something that I personally have been longing for at least the past 10 years, to know some things about, the interpretation of the settlement agreement, what is possible, what is not. Okay. I've been asked to make a statement on Amiga OS 3.14. Actually, Phil is the one who asked me this. He's now sitting down here, no? Phil, you asked me to make a statement on 3.14. So, again, I'm not a lawyer. I have to be very careful about what I say. I'm extremely happy on behalf of everyone as a user, as representing New Amiga, that the developers were able to do something, and I consider the developers my friend. I met with Olaf, with Markus yesterday. I'm in email touch with a lot of them, that they were able to do something, to play with something, to enjoy, to continue enjoying this. And also for the users, that something could be released and is now being accessible. At the same time, I'm not happy about the timing. In my opinion, it could have been better if we had more clarity, which could have been at the end of a court case, not in the middle. And by the way, the court case never was about 3.14. It started before. It was not... so things have been also a word that came up yesterday, weaponized, Software and developers are being weaponized to be used for... I really don't like this. It's the opposite of beauty and what Amiga should be for. So my statement on 3.14, I'm happy that things move forward. I'm happy to see new things as well. I hope we can make more things together possible. I also hope, a beautiful, an elegant solution for me. When Markus yesterday told me, Markus Gerards, we all worked for free. And we insist that the work was done for free, for an ethos, for a philosophical reason. Also to be free and not be given orders what we should do, to limit responsibilities also. But I find this very beautiful that this work on 3.14 was done for free. For me personally, the only clean way to release this would be as a free upgrade as a consequence of this. I also would advocate that 3.14 ends in an open source branch. We, as the New Amiga, would contribute the source code to this. I don't know if Hyperion is also willing to do this, but we have been talking about this. So my position is that it's good personally, but for the timing, unfortunate. Should be probably free if you want a beautiful solution as an upgrade. Open source is also desirable. These are my thoughts. Of course, from the introduction and from many questions that came yesterday, and also some, some irony that comes in, some criticism. Oh, but you only do preservation. Again, we do innovation in our daily work in other fields. We've been innovating in Amiga software for many years, even in the Amiga Forever package. And by the way, you all received a copy in the booklet. And on the last page, there's a download and a license. There's many innovative features, authoring features, and so on. So I want to see Amiga move forward in different branches, maybe on different CPU architectures, classic, new, open source branch, something in between, I don't know, but I am open and listening to all these possibilities. So absolutely not preservation only. I'm interested in preservation. I'm interested in culture, so education for children, for students to learn with 8-bit, with Amiga. I repeatedly mentioned years ago that I would like to see something, on a tablet like Swift Playground, sprite editor, audio editor, programming languages, manuals for children to learn, and even in university where now you learn about frameworks and complex operating systems, which after 3 months are already old. Instead we can learn something beautiful that doesn't change, that fits in your mind, and you can even buy the machine on eBay or somewhere. So yes, we want to move forward for the future. Again, another question. You own the rights, why don't you do anything? Well, first, things changed very rapidly. It all happened this year. From the perspective of 35 years of Amiga history, 34, I think there's been more potential for change now than ever in 2019. I look forward to much, much more. But as I said, I like to be cautious, aim before firing, research before stating. So I apologize if also we don't make many statements. For me, for some reason, silence is golden, but now it seems that perception is everything, so we probably should engage and talk more, as you two advised me, What else? Well, right ownership comes with many obligations. Like there used to be, many reminded me here, now there's so much uncertainty, trademark grabbers, the risk of aggression. Developers would like to be free, like they were in the Commodore Amiga days. They would be free, of course, to develop, knowing that there's not an attack from somebody registering some Amiga-related trademarks or something. So we have started already with offering free licenses where possible, and working together to solve individual trademark cases. Some were already solved, and to bring back a clean slate also that can be offered to others under protective umbrella, where it's easier to work like it used to be 25 years ago with the Commodore Amiga companies. So these are all things that I think will come and we're working on. Amiga.com. We could do a porn site, I was told, and indeed, legally, I have been advised that it's possibly even safer now to do something completely different. An independent acquisition from this year, actually from last year, was Amiga.com, which was purchased not once but twice. So both as part of the Amiga acquisition and also with Vince, just to be sure, again, double and triple checking. So Vince was a former Amiga Inc. collaborator who suffered a lot also in the last years from the troubles, and everyone agreed to also sell the domain, and it's now in an independent company, and I've been hoping to use it really for ages now, not just hidden messages, but we'll see when I'm told that it's safe to do what we wanted to do. So feel free to ask questions about it. Yeah, and questions from the public. So as I said, this is not the original speech I had in mind, but so many questions came up, I thought it was more urgent to address some of these. And please do come forward with your questions. Yeah, Phil.
Test, test, test.
I repeat the question for you if you want, so I can censor the difficult parts.
Oh, please, you have a question for me now? No?
No, you have a question,
so,
I think.
I have one question, in fact, which is 3 questions. Okay, 3 questions in one.
I love that.
I love to make things simple, looks like complicated and stuff, right? So, first thing first, I want to thank a lot Mike, because I think Mike and me, we start to know each other. I might say that, right?
From many events before, but also especially now.
Exactly. However, I always like to say that I don't care, and some people knows me because I always repeat, I don't care. I say what I think I should say, and I always say what my heart stands. So, and I've told Mike in a couple times, and not only Mike, some other people as well, guys, you know, you should work together because fuck it, we do not need you, you need us, right? So, he knows it, and he's doing a great job to aligning to this perception, and it was not easy for Mike to actually bring back together a lot of these brands and trademarks, etc., because that was not easy. So, questions now. Statement on 3.1.4. Not very clear, Mike. Can you be more precise on that? That's the first question. Second questions. Please enlighten us regarding Jens and Amiga Forever. Please. We had a long talk yesterday about that.
Yeah, we were sitting at the same table,
yes,
Ben and Jens.
Exactly. And I would like to talk about that. Okay. I hope that this is now resolved and you guys are shaking. They were dancing together yesterday, you know. So this is
He's twisting through. The sky is blue, it's not green. We were not dancing together. I was dancing with Tidwell dancing. I'm not a good dancer. Timothy is probably.
So, and then
I was standing, you know.
And then the first question is about the fact that Ben Herman and Timothy the Groot was with us around the table as well. And as I said to all these guys, I'm no one, I'm not interested at all, but I'm an Amigan like you. And for 30 years we are waiting for stuff to happen and nothing's happened because some of the guys, for whatever reason, I don't even understand, keep fighting together. And this is not good for us, right?
Can you put too many things on my stack now.
That's the third question.
The last point.
Timothy the Groot and Ben Herman was there.
Yeah.
Please tell us that you're going to find a solution to this, hopefully step down, and that you guys are working together, and tomorrow.
But I am in touch with Timothy every day. We meet every month. We post photos on Facebook just to show this.
But I'm bringing this because you need to tell it to everybody.
Exactly. That's why I'm here for. Yes.
And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Phil. So, when I said Amiga is drama, Amiga is religion, and not just beauty, it's difficult to be here. So, but you had actually, you touched 5 points, 3 questions and 2 more nice points. At the end you said something about there's so many fights. One thing that makes me bad is that people almost take for granted and accept it that fights and lawsuit and moral corruption associated with Amiga. This was not the case when we started. When I started, Amiga was perfection and beauty, or the illusion of it, no? When I was an Amiga developer. The lawsuits, they started in the 90s, in the 2000s, not now. So, then you said at the beginning, and I would like people to stand up, if they have something to say, not just look at me and say, oh, it's good that you do, and say some things, you know, well, this and this happened to me. Please also tell your story and not just make me feel like the lone tree sometimes, because it's hard. So, you spoke about the heart, doing things from the heart. Of course, when I speak about open source and free, and I said, or I didn't say, I wanted to say, I'm not paid for my Amiga work. So, there was this clean cut for me in '97 when I described the situation of the shrinking ponds and people starting eating each other like sharks. I decided to do other things for money. We have successful currency solutions and other software, IP, Italian text input and other things, which I won't mention, but which would allow me to retire. I now have a small child. All started late for me in life because also of too much Amiga, probably. And maybe, of course, things like open source, they come from the heart. Maybe you can make less money, maybe even more, I don't know. But I'm not thinking of it in terms of money. So that is my perspective. I agree with you as things coming from the heart. Now you said 3.1.4, my statement wasn't clear. Heck, is there a lawyer to help me here, please? Because what can I say? What do you want me to say? You Cloanto, you Amiga, in the present, in the future.
Yeah, sorry. The question it was very clear for me, but maybe
You know
not for
the
anybody
answer.
else.
You were
So
not
the question is,
distributing it.
can you know, what would be great is that you actually, I know that now you support 3.1.4, which is actually great, totally great, and work with those guys and help them distribute the system, promote them. Because you both need,
Well, yeah.
you need them, they need you.
Of course. But
That's
as
it.
Timothy knows, we promoted Amiga OS 4 years ago, and it was probably one of the most successful campaigns you had for the product sales. And regrettably, things turned into a certain way for many complex reasons. Personally, I think Timothy and myself get along well, or that's how we feel whenever we meet. And there's no bad feelings, personally. And yeah, probably we also think and wonder whenever we talk, why can't we solve this? And then we go back and it gets more difficult. But we're working on a daily basis. We are committed to solving this. So we decided no lawyers. Lawyers can only help you put in words what you agreed on, but we are working on that. So yes, in the same way also the developers would like to see 3.1.4, I was told yesterday, in Amiga Forever, for example, to make it more accessible, but it's something we have to agree with Hyperion, of course, because it's contracts, and we respect, just like the Amiga parties and Cloanto respect the settlement agreement, so there should be no doubt about this. I respect the settlement agreement, the 2009 settlement agreement. OS4 was never put in any doubt, so the doubts were about other things, and we've been trying to solve these doubts before the lawsuits. What was the second point? Jens. Well, when I last spoke here, and Jens was there 2 years ago, I was here in a photo with Jens. I mentioned him as a friend. I saw him as a friend because we shared events. We slept in the same room. We shared the same desk at Amiga events for many, many years. And then, with the Picasso 96 acquisition, there came a dispute. And it's public, so I'm not telling you anything new. If you read Amiga News.de, so I had to release a clarifying statement. I had to ask lawyers about the interpretation of a 2001 agreement, whether we have or we don't have a license. The German lawyer said, yes, you don't have a paper contract, but an email contract like yours is a valid contract. That's what the lawyer said. And this was released. You have to remove the personal details, but you can publish it, and it was added as a PS at the end of our original 2001 press release. We just have this Picasso 96 license for all software in Amiga Forever. That's what it said. We never claimed that we have a license over new software. We never claimed that our users have a shareware license for the new software. We respect the acquisition that Jens made. But for some reason, somebody decided to, again, weaponize some old stories, putting things also in our mouth, in my mouth, that I never said. So half of it are non-issues, and half, I think, can get clarified. But lawyers say we did have, in 2001, a valid agreement, and it's public now. The email exchange from 2001 is public. You can read it. If you are a lawyer, you can read it and make your own mind about it. And the irony of it is, in 2001, in the email exchange with Tobias and Alex, I asked, do you think we need a contract? And they said, no. And so our contract is that email exchange and the payment. But it's really quite detailed, actually. So the lawyer said it's actually a good exchange. The third point was?
Sorry. So to complete the second question, you came to an arrangement with Jens.
Well, not with an arrangement, but I was very glad that yesterday we shook hands, that we spoke. Some things we were able to clarify.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to share that with the public.
Look, why are we wearing black T-shirts today, for example?
I'm in white, so I don't care.
Okay, I can maybe. I'm the only one who, there's no second, or maybe there are additional thoughts about that, but I'm not the one who threatened shitstorms, and so don't make. For me, there would be no problem. I never spoke about lawsuits. I never spoke about shitstorms or these things. I'm not the one who leaked emails. For me, I would solve problems maybe quietly. Still, I would answer questions, but I would not make public cases, especially claiming that the sky is green, and then whatever. So can we return to beauty now? I'm really, in my heart, I see Jens as a friend. This is what, for me, I think we're all different individuals. Probably he was put in a difficult situation. Or again, he's surrounded also by lawyers and people who maybe had to say some things that were misinterpreted. So I'm waiting for more clarifying. Okay.
Gibt es weitere Fragen noch im Publikum?
Ja, weitere Fragen.
More questions from the audience? Okay.
Okay. Returning to blue skies now, okay?
Thank you.
You've now looked at all the Amiga Inc. and Commodore Amiga files and data. Is there anything surprising that you found and that you can share with us?
Yes. Well, firstly, I go. So, this looks like an interrogation light, by the way. You know, when the police puts this. Oh yes, that's an interesting topic. So, I received and had access to archives from the Commodore servers years and years. One insight as a developer, you know, I was exchanging in the 80s emails with the Commodore team via UUCP, via CompuServe, and meeting at developer conferences. Reading the archives, it looks in many ways, there's even meeting notes and things like that. Also, you have the possibility in a personal way, potentially, you know, there's exposure of passwords, there's other things which you have to treat with respect. There's copies of archives from UUCP and other things, but they were ahead of us developers by many years. That was one thing I thought. The way we worked as Commodore Amiga developers, we could have learned from Commodore, I could have learned from Commodore working inside that Commodore at least two things. How a large company doing software and hardware works, and they were ahead of us in innovation, in the way they shared books and research papers and things like that. They were ahead of us of a few years. So they made me regret not having taken maybe a job there. When I was 18, I thought maybe to avoid military service, I could go and work for Electronic Arts or for Commodore. That was a thought for me. I would have loved that. Then I would, if anybody has additional archives brought home or copies or whatever, please contribute them, because we found errors already comparing versions. There's bit rot. So please contribute them. If you want an anonymous way, I can make it available. We can read old tapes and other media. So whether it's for the foundation, whether we make it available with one of the institutions we work with in California for long-term preservation, it doesn't have to be lost. It already was lost in room-to-room auctions at Commodore, but it was preserved by engineers who brought things home and in other ways. So even yesterday somebody offered me additional material. Yes, but it's a lot of material. I have to search for things, you know. Much of it deserves to be published, I think. Whether it deserves to be published in a way like the Enron files, in a radical transparency way, by exposing also passwords and personal things, I think no. We should respect that. So I think there's a privilege in maybe the company that took over that has access to some things, but the privilege entitles some responsibility. But yes, there's a lot of interesting material. I think I'm breaking the time.
Gibt es noch eine weitere Frage? Hat noch jemand eine Frage, die noch nicht beantwortet wurde? Dann bitte kurz melden. Another question for Mike?
And please do email me if you have additional. And I promise I will keep Amiga and Cloanto separate, even if as Cloanto, you know, there may be a perceived conflict of interest. As Amiga, I have to make possible things that maybe another company cannot. But I want to bring Amiga forward, to bring beauty, to restore beauty, to bring unity, and to facilitate that.
Yeah. Okay, thanks a lot, Mike Bartiliana.
Okay, danke. 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 Markus just gave me something. Let me see what this is.
Okay.
Aha. Wo ist Markus? Oh, danke.
Markus.
Ich habe das noch nicht gesehen. Ja. Okay. Thank you. Come here. I want to thank you for organizing this. You know, he has been playing psychological tricks with us. I mentioned it yesterday because it was part of your initial thesis, the first Amiga30 event. You know, you do psychology and these things. So you know about the community dynamics, and also maybe you could engage in mediation, resolution, conflicts, and these things.
Probably.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everything.